You're watching YCN, your local view. Program airtime is underwritten in part by Bar Harbor Bank and Trust. Looking to purchase your dream home, finance your business, or just find a better checking relationship? Our New Hampshire team is here to help you. We make award-winning banking happen every day. Contact us to see how we can help you. Member FDIC.
Welcome to the June edition of Cougar Chronicle. And where are we, John?
We are back at the Kearsarge Regional Middle School yet again.
I love it.
The amphitheater, the beauty, the space, the light.
And look behind us.
Still, we have the drone backdrop that hasn't moved.
Wonderful.
We like to keep those things in play. We found a location we liked, and so
I love it.
we're going to stick with it. That's the old.
And thank you to our middle school, folks here, because they've really put up with
Well, I
us
appreciate
being
Steve Patterson, our middle school principal, but then most importantly, our library media specialist here at the middle school.
Thank you,
because we have taken up their space.
Absolutely.
And they have to kind of be like, okay. So they've been very kind and nice about it, so we appreciate that.
So I walked in, and they said to me, Principal Patterson, "Hi, how are you? You know, we've met before." I said, "Oh, yes, of course." I said, "Can you take my bag, please?" I made him my concierge.
There you go. I didn't know we had a coat room here at Kearsarge Middle School.
He said, "Oh, no problem."
Yeah.
Okay, come this way.
I hope you get it back. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out. But
we're happy to have you here today.
June
Great
is
show.
a good one. Has there ever been a bad show? They're all
not in my
great.
opinion.
Everything is very different. Every show has got its own flavor.
Yes.
Every show has its own opportunity. And so this is no different. We've got some pretty cool stuff today. So Carter Bascom and Lindsey Brook are our advisors for Project Climb.
Awesome.
Big anniversary. They're going to come up and talk about that.
Yes.
Find all about what Project Climb is. And then our milestone, our first student guest.
I can't wait.
We've got two young people from our high school coming to talk about our LNA program there at the high school.
Very successful program.
We'll hide that one. And as always, it wouldn't be a show without our very own Michael Bessette, our assistant superintendent, coming in and talking about, I think, summer learning and just kind of, again, just a great segue and breakdown into new things. And then what show wouldn't be complete without
Ask the superintendent.
Oh my goodness, your favorite section.
And it is a question from me today.
Okay.
And I was so.
And you couldn't have just texted me the question? You got to get it on camera?
I have to make it on public. So thank you so much for joining us for our June show. We're glad you're with us right here on
the Cougar Chronicle.
Welcome back to Cougar Chronicle, and happy June.
Happy June.
I can't
so
believe
excited. Again, second time we've filmed in the middle school. Very exciting time.
It's nice to be back here. I love it.
Just to break things up a little bit and change the atmosphere. But so excited for this first segment for our guests.
Me too.
I will tell you.
Very special segment.
When people go, "How did you wind up in New Hampshire?"
Right.
My first smart aleck response is the judge. The judge said either join the military or move to New Hampshire. So I picked New Hampshire. But truly what it was is when positions were open, I would jump online and look and see what was around the area. I did want to live in a city. We want to live someplace where we could be involved with the outdoors. And Kearsarge obviously has that. And then started digging into the quality of the district. So it's a little bit the cart before the horse kind of piece. But when I got out here, one of the things doing the research was Project Climb, which is some of our first guests.
Yes.
And number one, just such a storied history and an evolution of ways to be able to provide kids opportunities to be involved with stuff, and I'll let them tell this story. But I'm so excited to have Carter Bascom,
who is a Kearsarge kid.
Kearsarge kid, and also my boss, because he is a board member, so hello, sir.
Oh, there we go, that's right.
As we get from there. But he's not wearing that hat today. And Lindsey Brook, who's our middle school special ed teacher, and they're both two of the counselors that we have for Project.
Yeah, there we go.
They are the Swiss Army knife of climb, as we do that way.
Exactly. What a great program. I mean, we were just before before we went on the air, we were talking about the origin of it, and it goes back years, doesn't it?
It does. We were at Zealand Falls Hut, so one of the backcountry huts in the AMC. And Lindsay, actually, do you want to tell the story?
Sure. When you go up to an AMC hut, they have this really cool history of all of the logs where anyone visiting the hut can write a journal entry, and so they date all the way back to the 70s and 80s. So I was perusing the 90s just out of curiosity, and I opened the 1994 binder, and there were logs and logs of entries from any civilian and traveling the AMCs.
Sure.
And I found one that was from a Kearsarge entry and from students of our
I love it.
school, and it was really cool. But it was the original Project C, which was our way back in the 1977. We had an environmental program at the high school called Project C.
And it morphed into this?
Yeah.
It stood for Seeking Environmental Education, and over the years, it transitioned to...
Yeah, I went and moved on to 1995 journal and found the first ever entry of Project Climb students.
Oh, what a
which
great
was
history.
super cool.
Yes, that's a great story.
And so Project Climb stands for Challenging Limitations in Mind and Body.
Okay.
And that was a very well thought out acronym.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
We're very lucky to have Lindsay join the advisor group because Lindsay's dad, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but he was one of the founding and pivotal sort of founders of the program. Him as well as Mark Breyer and Joanne Tulinen. So they really have done a fantastic job of creating really what Project Climb is today. And we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. And they were faculty and staff at the high school.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is full circle, and it's really nice.
Well, it must be great, Lindsay, to carry that on.
It is. And Carter and I were in high school together, so it's so fun to be back here together. We enjoyed it as students ourselves, and then to be leading the way feels kind of weird, but also awesome.
You're right. All grown up, right?
Yeah.
Talk about some of the activities. I'm new to the area. Obviously, I'm not now, but I'm a new student. I come in, I hear about Project Climb. What am I going to be able to do through Project Climb?
Overarchingly, it's an outdoor leadership program. We fall under the extracurriculars for the district. It's high school driven for the most part. We do incorporate an 8th grader group trip once a year to try and get some involvement from the younger kids. But we leave on Friday mornings. We take about 35 to 40 kids.
Wow. Okay.
On each trip. I think overall we incorporate about 100 kids coming and going on the various trips throughout a year. And we travel and go on adventures.
It's wonderful.
Our flagship trips, the ones that get the most signups, are our hut trips. So I kind of alluded to that earlier, where we use the Appalachian Mountain Club's hut system in the winter time. There are 8 huts that exist, backcountry huts that exist in the White Mountains. 3 of those are open during the winter time.
Which are they, Carter?
Yeah, so it's Lonesome Lake, Zealand Falls Hut, and Carter Notch Hut.
Gotcha. I didn't know the third
So
one.
we go to all 3 of those huts throughout the self-service season. When we're not at a hut, we are also doing other trips. So we do a canoeing and camping trip where the kids learn how to use cooking stoves, learn basic skills of how to canoe. We will usually do a backpack camping trip, and in the past we've gone up to Mount Moosilauke to the Beaver Brook shelter.
Oh, wow.
And same thing, backpacking, learning how to set up a tent, using cook stoves. We've done a day trip to what used to be called EVO, but it's now New Hampshire Climbing and Fitness, and so that's the rock climbing wall in Concord.
Oh, yes, okay.
So we'll do a day trip there.
Yes.
And then usually this time of year, we try to do some kind of celebration, whether it be a canoeing trip somewhere or have the seniors plan and prepare a trip. In the works right now, we're trying to do a backpacking camping trip that would sort of culminate the end of the year before the end of year celebration.
Gotcha.
Most years we do around 6 to 7 trips from the beginning of school in September. Yeah.
And a lot of you coordinating 30 to 35 students, that's a ton.
And we were actually just looking back at some of the past trips that Climb used to do.
They, way back in the day, they used to every year print a T-shirt for the students to like take home for the season and for the year, and it usually had the school year and then the list of the trip dates, and then all the kids would sign it, and these T-shirts would be printed for them to take for the
memories,
the reward. And so those old T-shirts have somewhere between 12 to 14 trips a year. Carter and I were laughing because we're like, how did the advisors manage it all?
Wow, that's a lot.
They used to do, before the district, very thankfully and graciously now helps to provide resources to the program to allow us to go on these trips. Before, it was all fundraising activities. Gotcha. So they would do a bike ride, many miles of bike riding to raise money. They would also do bigger trips. I mean, they would go and do whitewater rafting, whitewater canoeing. They would do sea kayaking. We've talked about like, oh, how cool would that be to have a trip? How do we get back to some of these cooler trips or different trips, I should say?
Bike riding was a big aspect of it in the past, right? I remember that. Yeah, that was a big fundraiser.
A lot of it shifted though because the philosophy of the program, they noticed when they founded it and started it that a lot of the students who were wealthier were going on the trips because they had access to bikes or packs or gear.
That up, right?
Yeah, and so they started doing a lot of fundraising. When I was a child, I remember actually my dad attached one of those like kid to the back of his bicycle, like an attachment with like 2 wheels and handles.
Yes.
And I remember biking for the fundraiser as a 7-year-old.
What a great
And then, gotta contribute.
Yes, right. I can do it, Dad.
But then I also remember our house was filled with birdhouses because the advisors, Mark Breyer and my dad worked in the wood shop at the Kearsarge High School. So they would make and have students make a ton of birdhouses to sell.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so they had a bunch of fundraising through the 90s to try and gather sleeping bags and backpacks and the things that they would need to make it accessible for any and all students.
And are you feeling that that's taking place now? Is it accessible for anyone to come into the program?
Yeah, and that's one thing we pride ourselves on too with any new students. That's always our shtick when we go, especially to the 8th graders, to have them join in one of our hut trips. Right. So we always let them know we have all of the gear for you, and thanks to the generous donors from the early days and also to the district these days, we are able to have enough gear, sleeping bags, hiking boots, backpacks, layers, gloves, headlamps, water bottles, like you name it, canoes, we've got the gear. So it's really accessible and very affordable for the kids to come on trips. And that's really one of the goals of the program, is to give kids an opportunity to go outdoors who wouldn't necessarily have the means to do it or the gear, because it is very expensive to have backpacks and -20-degree sleeping bags.
Exactly, and to know what you need, right?
Yeah.
That's huge.
It really has become, they have their own budget line item every year, and the advisor positions are also covered through the district, and so the amount of equipment that they have is pretty unbelievable.
Extensive.
But really, I mean, you've got not everybody fits the same mold.
Right.
All three of us are 2 very active outdoor person, want to be here, and we're shaped differently, and so we have to have different equipment that goes with those needs.
Right.
And so then you add the extra element of wintertime hiking,
absolutely.
so micro spikes or snowshoes, and all the fun that goes with that.
And by the way, Superintendent Fortney, which I'm not allowed to call you, thank you for attending and going on that. I mean, that was so.
I
really
did have a blast.
To see, I mean, for the students to gain that experience and to really, what a good thing to have happen.
I mean, it's selfish. I can sit here and be like, oh, I did it for the kid. I did it because I love being outside.
I know
and it was what a challenge. I mean, I hiked up for the Saturday. The one thing I'm most proud of that I'll beat my chest on is that same week I was scheduled to be in New Orleans for the National Superintendent's Conference.
Yes.
And I purposely came back a day early because I made the commitment that I would make a hike with Project Climb, and the one before didn't work out for whatever reason, but I told my wife and everybody that absolutely the only thing I have is my word. And so hiked up, and really I don't know if they were really sure if I was still coming or not. I'm like, try to be there, but we'd never really connected because I got in at about 9 o'clock Friday night, and then I was up at 6 a.m. the next morning driving up for the hike. It was a challenge. I'm not going to lie, because I'm still getting back in shape of things. But it was the best part, the best thing. I'm sitting at the hut. They were finishing up a hike. High school kid comes walking in. I forget who the young man was, and he goes, "Aren't you my superintendent?" Like, just the most real. Like, I'm like,
Right,
I am.
right,
I'm
right.
like, he kind of looked at me. I'm like, and I looked at him, and I go,
Yeah.
"We have to talk." Like, I hiked all this way just to find him, and he goes,
to make that connection.
"Okay," but it was a blast.
And what a wonderful experience for that student too.
It was for me. The kids
Honestly,
had
all
a
of
time.
them. I think it was really special for the kids to see someone in administration like caring about what they do and
Yes,
what they love.
exactly.
Like, I really think that was.
That was a lot of fun.
It was awesome
And then
to
I
have
got
you.
to hike down in the dark, which was
But
its
I'm
own,
still
its
scolding you
own
about
adventure.
your wife and I both.
Well,
Not happy.
no, my wife and I backpack on the Appalachian Trail in Virginia at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So, I mean, I don't put myself in situations that I don't think I can handle.
I know
It
you
was
do.
a challenge, and
I
it was
know. It
different.
was a challenge.
But I will tell you what, it 100% was time well spent. And I think from conversation I've had with Carter and Lindsey and the other advisors, probably that Lonesome Lake trip will be the day that I can get up there.
Right.
Because some of the others are not that it's just longer to get in and out.
Exactly.
Because of multiple miles, and that's you
That's
make it through the
accessible.
elevation
Right,
and go
you
from
do
there.
it. So we got the 1 minute wrap up. 2
I always
minutes
get the
ago.
1 minute wrap up.
2 minutes ago, but before we leave, very quickly, why Carter, Lindsey? Why should students come? Why do you do this?
That's a great question. I know my answer. For me, it was probably one of the most formative programs that I had, being able to go through the high school, and we
Right.
both had the opportunity to attend as kids. So I think for me, it's really what we try to do is break down social barriers and really get everyone to work together as a team and work together in the outdoors. And that has really been one of the main reasons why I'm so passionate about being in the outdoors, is because of this program. Yeah. So I'm very thankful and honored to continue that tradition going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would agree. I think this program has such a community and a sense of like belonging for any and all type of student. It doesn't allow for jocks and nerds, and it creates this atmosphere of we're all in it together. We have elements to persevere through and challenge ourselves, and we have to help each other through it and get out the other side and on the way back.
We're lucky.
I will tell you that I have watched and heard stories of the evolution of kids that were struggling in the beginning that then become leaders later in the series of that. And that growth, challenged by choice and locking into a community support. I mean, you talk about applicable skills in life.
Right. And this is it. Carter, Lindsey, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're so grateful. And thanks for your work.
They do great work, and we're excited to do that. And we'll continue, but we'll try to get some video next time. The only regret I have on the trip was I didn't get a picture with the kids.
Oh, I know.
Next time.
Next time. It'll be all right.
So stick around. We have some great interviews coming up. Some students are coming in.
Very excited. This will be our very first students on the program, talking about our LNA program and showcasing some of the great work. As it seems to be a long-term kind of thing. You see the career technical education opportunities
this is a great
that happen for kids. And I think you may or may not have a connection with one of them.
I'm so excited.
So
I
she's
know, I
very
can't even
plugged,
stand
very
it.
happy to be here. And it'll be a great chance to show that off. So we're looking forward to it.
Hang with us here on Cougar Chronicle. Thank you for joining us. A big day today.
Another exciting segment. I tell you what, Project Climb, the history of
that was great.
I mean, just
There was so much we didn't
the
talk about.
longevity of that, that's going to be a multiple.
for 2
That's a
hours.
multiple segment one.
Yes.
I don't know how you get all of what that encompasses in just a 10 or 12 minute segment. So we'll definitely have them back. I'm sure there's information because, with celebrating the 30-year anniversary of it, they were able to come in and present to the school board a couple months ago. They had showed part of a video that kind of had all the history of things. So there's
great.
so much there.
And I just remember I had Peter Keene's daughter in kindergarten years ago. He's been with them for 29 years running Project Climb. Isn't that amazing?
Well, that's legacy, and that's why we
is.
have things going. So, all right, so we go about talking about teachers as always working with students, and now we have students.
Yay, you are our first students on the show.
Ever in the history of it.
Yes,
so welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Very good. Renae and Gage. Now, obviously they're like We're here, hello. But the question is, why are they here? Both of these students are part of our LNA program, studies program at the high school. And one of the things that I love, I'm very competitive. So anything we can do something that's better than everybody else, we're going to highlight.
And we are.
And
Now,
I would say
brag first, because you were so excited.
With the LNA program. So this year is the 3rd year in a row.
Okay, 3 years.
That 100% of our LNA students passed their final exam, their licensing exam, first try.
That's huge. All of our
100%.
students.
Everybody.
3rd year in a row.
Now, I don't care if there's 20 of them or 1. Everybody. But we had more than 1. So obviously we got 2 sitting here.
Oh,
so
that's great.
Welcome.
Oh, we're so
excited.
Both of you.
About this. Take a minute. A couple of things. One, introduce yourselves. What year you are, and then talk about what the LNA program is.
Okay. I'm Renae Purslow. I took the LNA program my junior year of high school, and the LNA program, it was a great opportunity to see if I loved nursing and see if I wanted to continue that after high school. And I love it, so I'm planning on going into the medical field, getting my RN, and hopefully working in labor and delivery. So.
Oh, so it's your first year involved.
Yep.
And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great.
Very exciting.
A chance to do that.
I'm Gage Richard. I'm a junior this year, and just like Renae, I did the LNA program through the beginning of sophomore summer all the way to the the first semester of junior year. I plan to try and apply for NEC for the 3-year nursing program, and then get my Bachelor of Science degree and see where we go from there.
So that's one. So you'll go to New England, apply to New England College, and they're both coming out with an LNA certification when they're done with the program. That's huge.
They are career ready today.
That's
as
amazing.
juniors. They think about that. They have the ability to walk into a career now, but yet they both are going to obviously keep going and doing that. Gage, do you have an area? I know Renae was talking about wanting to do labor and delivery. Do you have an area that catches your fancy?
Probably just a normal registered nurse or RN, and maybe a little bit of travel nursing while I'm young.
That's a big field. Yeah, a lot of opportunity.
Travel. I will tell you, in Missouri, I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of travel nurses. Both of them owned vans, like these Sprinter vans they had converted. And so they literally, the hospitals, you talk about a field, the nursing field is so needy.
It is
such a almost a cutthroat business, because the bonuses, the sign-on bonuses, longevity stipends. But I saw a hospital in Missouri that had built, it looked like a campground behind it, so that way traveling nurses could plug in, and that was part of their pay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Was that you weren't paying for housing, so they just traveled from there.
Oh, that's
so a lot of really cool stuff. Labor delivery's got its own.
Yeah, now Renae, why labor and delivery? What made you get into that?
I don't know. I've just always been kind of interested in that, and my mom's a medical assistant at New London Hospital, so I've always seen it, and she works with little kids, so I love that. But I kind of want to be firsthand there. So
that's great.
Yeah,
and they get that hands-on experience.
Well, that's it's live experience coming in. So talk about the coursework. What do you have to do? What does your day look like in this program?
So we started the coursework over the summer of our sophomore year going into junior year, and it was not much work, but it was just enough, and there was book work involved and then quizzes, and it got us really prepared and kind of opening our eyes to see what we were going to be stepping into once we hit preclinicals and clinicals. And so yeah, it wasn't too much, I don't think, but it was just enough.
And exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
So Gage clinicals, talk about what are the clinicals? What does that entail?
Well, as Renae just said, there were the pre-clinicals, I believe, the studying over summer, which, let me tell you, you don't want to get behind on that. I found out the hard way. But cramming 3 weeks into 1 week and trying to read everything, took a lot out of me. But
you did it.
Yeah. From the summer work, you go into your pre-clinicals in the classroom, where the high school has set up its own little LNA practice room, where we had instructor Luba, who works at New London Hospital. She was very kind. She has a little bit of a thick accent, but it adds to her character. So she basically gave us the rundown of everything that went through in our book. We went over videos, and then we did physical demonstrations on the other 6.
Yes.
want to say 6, including Renae,
Yeah.
students. And then from there, we moved on to clinicals. Do you want to explain clinicals?
So clinicals is when we got to like step into New London Hospital and like be one-on-one with patients and learn like new skills, which is kind of difficult at first because you have to go in there being confident, like acting like it's not your first time doing things when it is.
Your first time doing it. Scary.
Yeah.
And it's like, but we build like really good connections with all the workers and all the like residents there, and it was a very great experience. We learned like so many new skills that now we can apply to when we work.
And this is your hospital. I had the advantage of, it was Renae, she walked in, we were together in kindergarten and her whole family we know well, but that's the hospital we all went to, right? When there was a, you bumped your elbow or something. So was it odd going back in as, in an official capacity?
It was actually pretty cool because I knew most of the people there because, like I said, my mom works there, but then being able to go around in different rotations, seeing like what other areas of the hospital there were, that was really cool too, to see like which area you preferred more and like what opened your eyes for everything. So
what does an LNA actually do? And then that's
question.
We know it's important, we know it's valuable, but what is it? Break that down.
We basically help the people who can't do certain things, like help them do their daily task, like brushing teeth, showers, like going to the bathroom, even just like getting up and walking around, like was one of the things we'd assist them with. And people like think it's like always just like the gross work, but there were like really good connections you could build. Like you could paint their nails, do their hair, like really nice things that would make them really happy. So those were some of the things that we did during clinicals, if you want to add on.
Basically what Renae said, take an RN where their main duty is to jot down everything, import stuff into computers about the residents there and make sure everything's getting recorded. You as an LNA will step in and do some of the recordings and also some of the other work. Unlike RNs, you don't do IVs, you don't put in catheters and other implements like that.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Gage,
so no blood draws.
Right, there we go, yes.
yet.
No
Except
phlebotomy yet.
glucose finger pricks.
Okay.
We can also remove IV catheters. So
Okay.
like once somebody puts an IV in, we can remove it and give
Okay,
them.
but you don't have to start it yet.
No, you don't have to start it
but
yet.
since both of you are heading that route, it's coming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's happening.
Were there any surprises, Gage, when you got in there, when you first started your rotations and got to the hospital? Was there anything that, just you went, oh, goodness?
Not really. I'm not really, even going into the final test, I didn't have any nerves about it. I don't have the most expressive reaction to something like that.
That's probably good, though.
Yeah.
It can be, and then other times it's a little.
I'm not playing poker with him.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you right now.
exactly.
But I mean, it was fun. I got to meet Renae's mother, which was pretty fun when we went up to pediatrics. There was PACU, there was ER, there was hospice, which was the main floor that most of the students would stay on. It was a great experience, and to meet the residents, depending if they're there short or long, you still get to know more about them.
Yeah.
Like an instance, I was doing a resident's bed for them, and I just got to get into like a 45-minute ramble while cleaning their room about how they lived and what their career was.
See, right, with this rich history of who this person was, not just the patient lying in the bed.
Connections,
Right,
relationships.
connections, again, we've been
You're
talking
gonna hear
about
this
that
constantly out of me.
over and over,
Connections,
which is- but that's
relationships.
life.
But that's the important piece of that.
Right.
And you talk
Learning.
about you have two phenomenal young people that are working with individuals, and as that translates, when they're almost their most vulnerable moments.
That's right,
And
exactly.
to have somebody that they can trust and somebody that is pleasant and whether it demonstrates that they care and want to be around
Absolutely.
them is what helps the healing process.
Well, from in the hospital, and Renae had said, it's not just the things you'd think, but you come in and you can say, oh, Mrs. Chip, would you like your hair brushed? Or would you like your nails done? Simple things like that can change someone's attitude, right? And their feeling of well-being. That's a really
Well, and all
important
the studies show that how your emotional state affects how you heal.
Right.
And sometimes it's just when people have, you talk about being in hospice, you've got people that are potentially terminal, and how do you translate graciously
Right.
into
Help
the
them
next?
transition. Yes, exactly.
We go from there.
What good experience for you both, too.
Yeah.
What would be something that somebody's thinking about maybe getting in the program, what would be your advice or your?
And we have a minute left, so
Yes,
we'll
we
give you
got
30 seconds
go
each.
in there. So
I
what-
would let them know that you're not just working with the patient, you're working with their family as well, and building a connection with everybody,
That's a
because it's not just them that you're taking care of, you're taking care of everyone as a whole.
Yeah.
And to go in with an open mind. Don't think that you're just going to do the gross work. You're going to also be building relationships with everybody. So
That's wonderful. Gage?
Gage?
Make sure to stay on top of work. Make sure that you reach out whenever you need help. Everyone there that is assisting is very useful with information and anything, even for the online portions, for quizzes and turning in everything else. Everyone's there and very, very available for you to do everything with. So they're always there for you.
What a great program.
Well, great
What a
program,
great
but great.
program.
Are they not great human
That goes
beings?
without saying.
But that's
Absolutely.
the
Young
beauty of the
human
whole thing
beings,
that
yes.
we want to highlight, and could not thank you both enough
thank
for
you.
coming in and being our first students on the
Oh,
show,
very special.
and really highlighting what we've got
Students,
going on.
yeah,
Just
isn't
an
that
absolute
huge?
blast.
Yeah,
an
and
absolute
thank you.
blast.
Congratulations to you both, and
Yeah,
we're so
thank
glad
you.
you were
Wish you
here.
being here. Wish you best of luck in the future, and the best part is I get to see you for a whole nother year. So I'm the winner. I'm the winner. Next we got one of your favorite
right.
people coming
Michael
up next
Bessette.
time, our assistant superintendent.
him? Yes.
Good questions, great opportunity
Absolutely.
for him.
And then after that, what happens?
I think it's the end of the show.
Ask the superintendent.
Oh yeah, there's that part. I've been trying to avoid that.
Renae, Gage, thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys
Really.
being on.
thank you.
Good. And stay with us. We'll be back with Mr. Bessette.
Yep, right here on the Cougar Chronicle.
Welcome back to Cougar Chronicle. And oh, my heart is so happy.
I'm sure.
What great kids.
Well, here's the fun thing about that. The number of years in a row that we have been 100% kids passing that LNA exam first try.
Great, program.
Well, and obviously we have an aging population,
Yes.
myself included. Our healthcare needs are growing, and these kids they get it. They're caretakers.
Right.
They're highly intelligent. They problem solve. They do all the things that go with it, and you feel so good for the future
You
with those kind of
really
kids
do,
there.
don't you? You know, the hardest thing, John had to hold me back because I saw Renae and would say, Bubala, come to me. I had her in kindergarten, and what a joy to see, how accomplished and how happy she is and on a career path. It's wonderful.
And just, I'm so impressed. And it really, that was, I believe, one of our first high school kids that we were able to bring in and have some conversations
actually
with
it
that.
is. I was thinking, I think it is our first high school.
So we're getting some things in. And not to say that we don't want to do more of that, because that really is a big deal.
Right.
But I also want to make sure that we're pairing the feel-good moments along with the stories that need to be told.
Right.
Because
And
the
that's
big
a
goal of the show and the whole premise of it was to really pull the curtain back and and dive deep into
what's
the
going on?
operations of the district.
Exactly.
So.
And, it doesn't stop in the summertime. And I think is that what our next
I
guest
think that's
is
what,
gonna be?
well, and one of your favorite guests and one of mine, Mr.
absolutely.
Michael Bessette, our assistant superintendent. Hello, sir.
Hi, Michael.
If you remember last month, he had his no vest. Now it's cooled off here in New Hampshire, so he's vesting it up now.
Because summer's coming. It's always cool in summer.
Anything's possible. This place, I'm telling you.
So we're so glad you're here.
Very excited.
It's great to be here. I was thinking again, so you always ask me to kind of come up with something that's relative to the month or what's going on. First and foremost, I'm going to take a shameless second because it's June. And the LNA program is highly successful. And I will tell you this, I have a daughter. She just graduated from Endicott as an RN. She's a graduate from Bow. I wish she had come, 6 years ago.
It's okay.
She graduated with me in Bow. And but I will say this, it was amazing to see some of the overlaps in her program and some of the problem-based learning and the competency-based learning that Endicott is using in terms of how they measure her proficiency. And the whole state assessment that is linked to her graduation and her licensure as a nurse was a competency-based assessment, which is
what we do here in KRHS. That's
so when people go, what is, when am I going to use this? Well,
guess what?
Here's a high quality test.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on that note, I was thinking a little bit about, so congratulations, Alex.
We're happy for her.
Very proud. Proud dad, as you can tell.
You should be.
A little financially in the hole for a while, but that's all right,
okay.
right? But anyway, going into the summer, I was reminded, that as we start thinking about the importance of the summer, a lot of people, want to make their lives very busy. I don't know if you've kind of figured that out along the way. People talk about, what are you going to do this summer? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that?
Yes.
We make summer school plans for some kids, and we try to, occupy their space and their day. I wanted to spend just for a second and talk about the importance of slowing down in the summer for a second. And I'm not talking about just for our faculty and our staff. I'm talking about for kids. And thinking, yeah, it's absolutely appropriate for our staff to slow down, to reflect, think about how the year went. Many folks out there think that our staff go home in the summer months and that they just, they hang it all up for 2 months and that they don't think about school at all.
Right.
And maybe there are some that
you did
do
with
that.
Utah, right? You press pause and you
Feet up, no.
and in August you press play again. That's how that works.
But the majority of them, I would argue, don't do that. A lot of them, catch up on summer activities that they need to do in preparation for the things that are coming in the year. And a lot of them engage in self-reflection, and they think a lot about what they did last year and how they can build on those successes or failures and grow from that experience to make the next crop, if you will, an even better crop, right? So they're thinking a lot about those things. But I hope they also slow down. I hope our teachers slow down, take a deep breath. They work really hard. A lot of folks out there don't realize that our teachers put in a lot more than the 188 days, and it's not a 9-to-5 job by any stretch of the imagination. They're at school by 7:30. They're done, generally speaking, by 3:30, 4 o'clock. That's a long day, but they're not done there. They're coming home. Their moms, their dads, they're out there. They're trying to take care of family, and they're out there at night correcting papers, rebuilding assignments, trying to do things that are either going to take place.
Volunteer organizations.
Yeah. We don't offer. A lot of people think, oh, they must have time during the school day to be doing that. No, we don't. We're literally out straight all day. They're lucky if they have a 30 to 40-minute block.
They have to be so aware of everything around them that whole time because they're responsible.
So you have to slow down in the summer. You have to recapture and have that work-life balance a little bit and think about how that's going to renew people. And for kids, I think it's the same thing. There's a lot of pressure on our kids. I don't know if people realize this, but they're in school every day. And imagine the world. Imagine if I went to you every day and said, you're going to be at school from 7:30 until 3:30, drive on a bus for an hour to get back to your house. And then, by the way, I'm not going to let you be done there. I'm going to also require you to do an hour and a half or so of work at home to stay up to speed.
That's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
It is. It's a ton. So I asked, that as we think about the summer, what do we want kids to be thinking about and doing? And I love the idea of learning in the summer, but at a slower pace. And I think we don't talk enough about where the opportunities lie for people to be able to engage in that type of an experience. I know John is a big hiker and a big camper. He's talked an awful lot about his grandkids and his family and taking people out onto trails. And I personally loved hiking and traveling around the world to see things. But that's wonderful. And some people may have that experience. Some people may not, right? I mean, we live in a very diverse world.
We do live in a very diverse world.
But think about this. Where can any child, where can any student take time to just kind of take it all in, right? How can they enjoy the outdoors? We are so blessed to live in communities that have so many local opportunities for kids to get out and explore, whether it's the local pond and just spending, a couple of hours walking around the edge of a pond and looking at the pond life and, catching frogs, looking at them, doing some of the things that I recall doing in my youth and talking. I don't know about you. I have this experience. I will never forget this. I read about this one time in a psych journal, right? Okay. So I know it's got some sort of psychological applicability, right?
Must be true.
There you go.
But I remember sitting on the bank of a pond in Maine, and this is not one of the big ones like Sebago or something like this or Rangeley. No. I was up in northern Maine, up in Aroostook County, where I spent a lot of time in my youth, right? And I remember sitting there, and there was this overhang of cedar trees that was coming down over the edge of the water, right? And I remember grabbing that cedar and crushing that up in my hand and just sitting there with that right here by my face and smelling that smell of cedar, right? And similar to the old stories that the psychs like to talk about, if you smell apple pie, it brings you right back to grandma's kitchen.
Yes.
That resetting and smelling that cedar on the edge of that pond, just seeing that scene, I can close my eyes right now and I can see it and I'm there, right? And that's the kind of slowing down and bringing back experiences into day-to-day activities that I think we don't spend enough thought around. How do we help our kids kids to find some of those activities in the summer where they can slow down, enjoy that experience of the outdoors or the indoors. I don't care if it's indoors, but taking time just to enjoy the moment. They're so wired. I mean that literally and figuratively.
Right.
I was walking down through the cafeteria one day in the high school a little while ago, a month or so ago, and every single student had some sort of technological device.
And you're like this.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
Well, not even talking to one another. This is, I mean, I think I remember you talking about that, and 6, 7 kids at a table, nobody looking at each other. They're this close to each other, but there is no connection.
Yeah, what a difference.
Take the time, slow down, bring a book to the beach, read a little bit at the beach instead of reading it on a Kindle. Actually, flip a page, see what that happens, and how that happens, and how that changes the experience for you. Because experiences make the difference. That's, I think, if after 3 years, 4 years, or whatever it is, experiences make the difference. So take something that's a ho-hum task, reading a book, bring it to that pond where that cedar is, crush that cedar up, and then read a nice chapter from Thoreau on Walden, right? If you're a high school kid.
Absolutely.
Better yet, go to Walden, go to Golden, go down there, go to the pond and experience what it was like to go up to Lake Champlain and walk along the waterfront if you get the opportunity to see the cannons and look across the lake at Fort Ticonderoga, right? I mean, you can do so many things.
The good news is here, we don't have to go far to get to Lake Kalulumak in Springfield or to Sunapee or Pleasant.
Well, and even where we are, even just throughout the district, the number of places, you can just walk out your back door.
It's amazing,
and you're in the trees. And just the idea of just unplugging, I think that's the biggest piece when we talk about the longitudinal research, long-term research about the impact of social media and technology and all these things, that the biggest thing is just to step away from it. Just
we need that reminder, don't we?
Every day.
Have you ever walked through some of our towns and just taken a minute to look at some of the blue signs, or the white signs or blue signs, depending on what they are? We have some amazing things that have happened in just our local communities about Civil War events or Revolutionary War events, right? And people, they just drive by those things and they don't even understand what they are, right?
Yeah.
So slow down, enjoy the experience,
great message.
Refresh, bring back the learning, and then have things to talk about when you do return to school, so that you can apply. That's how kids learn, is that they can take those life experiences, those experiences in different places, and then apply them to those books that they're reading in those classes, or those science labs or social studies experiences, right?
And it doesn't have to be a keeping up with the Joneses. There's
it doesn't matter where you live.
The fanciness of your summer camp, or whether you went on a trip. You could go nowhere but your own backyard and still build great memories and have great experiences that are going to allow you to translate. So when people go, what did you do this summer? I pretended I was X. My grandkids have got the most wild imagination possible.
Oh, they have wonderful imaginations,
and they'll tell you they went to the moon and back, and then built out of a box. But just the idea of play, that idea of discharge through play and activity.
And it can be done through so many different things. Cooking. Think about that for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Just, if you got to cook anyway, so take some opportunity.
Yes, exactly.
Go to your backyard stream, flip a rock over, find a caddisfly larva, and think about what that does for fishing.
See, now he's just making up words.
I know. That we,
He does that.
Hey, science teacher.
Hey, listen, after that image of you sitting, on the shore of the lake with the cedar and it's wonderful. Those are experiences that bring you back. Oh, we do. I have a ton of them.
Good.
But because that's what we did, right? And we didn't have to make ourselves. We didn't have all this stuff.
No, we played.
Batteries included.
Yeah, right.
The summertime play. You went out.
Yeah.
Early. You came back in when the porch light went on.
You got it when Mom, it's time for dinner.
And then you went from there. And play is so important. We get into the psychology of activity, and we can never speak to that enough. And so now you have the opportunity in one of the most beautiful places to do it.
Oh, we are so fortunate.
Lean in and
blessed.
get going.
Michael, I really tell you, every time you come in, you paint beautiful pictures for us. I mean, we hear about things that are going on specifically, but these images and this summer message to me is the best one we've heard.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. If Dr. Bobroff on our board didn't hear me say the word health and wellness.
Okay.
Get out and do some walking while you're out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
And congratulations to your daughter. Endicott's beautiful, by the way. That real estate there, right on the ocean. Ooh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yes, so you're very proud.
Proud dad moments that'll last forever. So you've been talking about that for a while.
Thank you for joining
very
us.
excited
It's
for that to have happened.
Well, it is June, and it does not excuse you from our next segment. segment,
Okay.
which is coming up. You know, Michael, what it is,
I do.
right? Superintendent.
You're starting to have as much fun with this as you do.
I know, and it's an involved one today. It's a serious one. I thought, you know, going into the summertime, you know, I think we, you know, need to think about some important things. So I said, oh, I'm going to take that one on my email.
Oh, nice.
So get ready. Here it
Glad
comes.
people are sending them in. That's the biggest thing. So,
Absolutely. Well, stay with us. We'll be back.
on the Cougar Chronicle.
Welcome back to Cougar Chronicle, and it is time for my favorite segment.
The Ask the Superintendent piece.
It is. It
Yes.
is. Now, I will tell you, this question, I'm being very selfish, comes from me, so I don't need to put my glasses on. So I think it was one of our past school board meetings. I think it was April. It's been a couple months.
It happened. Time flies.
It does, but I was attending via Zoom, which I
Okay.
usually do, and actually I was in another state at the time. So even
So you always,
away.
no matter where you. So hang on a second. You were in another state
Well-
and your Thursday night enjoyment was a
Well,
school board meeting?
it's
I am
pathetic.
so excited that we can create that kind of
Well,
value.
to me, it's important.
That should be a
right?
great indication
Yeah,
for
no.
other folks too.
Pathetic.
Survivor?
Yeah.
School board meeting on Thursday
Board
night?
meeting. But what you did was you discussed having gone down to Concord.
Yes.
To meet with some lawmakers. So I just wanted to ask you why you did that and why it's important for the district for you to have your presence known down in Concord at the State House.
Wow. Well, coming from Missouri and obviously being a superintendent, state law changes, and it's important for me as I would consider the primary advocate almost
Right.
for our school district to know our legislators, and really for a couple of reasons. One is that way to ensure that the school district has a voice, maybe not always a vote. We have
Right.
people in play that do their things, but it's important that they know what our things are coming from our perspective, as no different than they would from your perspective as a citizen. That is what they're elected for. And so what I had the opportunity of doing was meeting specifically with two different state senators, Tim Lang and Dan Ennis, and on two different occasions. I went down to Concord to meet with Senator Lang in his office, which was a wonderful conversation. And the big thing is that, and this is as much for our audience as for you, is obviously, as a superintendent, I get my information from a certain side. I mean,
Right.
let's be very transparent
Right.
here.
You're promoting the district.
Pro-education,
As we do here.
you know, as things would happen. And not to say that anybody that I'm talking to that is the opposite side is anti-education, because that wasn't the conversation. But my information comes, what I would say possibly was a certain bias or spin to it. And so it's important for me to meet people that maybe not agree with me, although I really found that with both Senator Ennis and Senator Lang, we had more in common than we didn't have in common,
that,
which is
yes.
always a lot of fun.
But you found that out,
But,
too, and that's
but the only
wonderful.
way to find that out is to have a direct conversation.
Right.
And to kind of see, you know, you're sponsoring these laws, you're making proposals on these budget changes. Why do you think the way you do? And is there a way that I can articulate our thought process or the impact there? And also, like Senator Lang is part of the finance committees. Anytime I can learn more about New Hampshire school finance, I'm going to lean into that, because Missouri school finance was so vastly different. But I was no less involved with our state legislators there and really trying to build those relationships. And a lot of it, like I told both of them, I think they were phenomenal conversations, and I look forward to having more of them. We left in both saying this isn't our only, but just our first conversation, and we'll continue those talks. But I wanted them to know that if something came up that I felt strongly about that was going to either positively or negatively impact, knocking or picking up the phone or sending an email, and those phone calls don't get answered, those emails don't get returned, and those appointments don't get held unless you have a good quality relationship with them. And as I say to both, or to any state legislator, state rep, or senator that I'll wind up meeting with, I hope that they're going to find me respectful, honest, and passionate about the district. And if I can maintain those things, we can agree to disagree all day long, but what we can't do is agree to not talk to each other. So it's very important that I'm heavily involved in those kind of conversations. And again, It's not my personal feelings. It is about what can I do to best defend the interests of the district, which means taking into account the voices of our stakeholders, which is why it's important to have these kind of forums and these questions. But then also, what do we do to make sure that we can provide the best educational outcomes for our kids? Because that is our mission, our vision, our focus, and everything we do comes down to student learning as it should.
And how wonderful. I mean, when I heard that discussion of the School of Reading, I just knew it had to be brought up here.
Well,
so
I appreciate
thank
that.
you for going down there and for your continued advocacy on behalf of our district. Very grateful for that.
Well,
and thank you for joining us. It completes our June show. Hey, happy Father's Day, by the way.
Thank you so much. So we have that coming on. I get to celebrate the, Grandfather's Day as well as the finishing up. And here's the best thing is this June show gets to highlight the completion of a complete academic school year.
It does.
So with that, I'm still standing.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
If we don't break copyright infringement on the music.
And I'll give you a little. I'm still standing. Now it's going through my mind. Elton John's going playing through. But now I'm thinking, coming up this summer, we're going to be having an encore presentation. Of our show. So we'll be with you all summer as well, and you'll be seeing some of our best of interviews.
Well, just a chance to really come back to those stories, and it's going to be fun to watch some of those older stories, because I think the show has evolved tremendously. I feel like we've gotten a great place where we're able to start telling those stories, and again, it's that ongoing messaging. And if it does anything, I hope it's that appetizer that causes people to want more. And
That's right.
We always encourage folks, when you need and want more information, reach out directly to those school buildings that you think you want to get the information from. And if they're unavailable, always reach out to us at the SAU. We look forward to helping and providing whatever support that we can throughout the school year, not alone just the summertime.
So we'll see you soon.
I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what the 25-26 school year brings to us.
I know, I'm so excited.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for your friendship and just the journey together. Couldn't have asked for a better co-pilot than you.
It's so much fun. It really is. And thank you so much for joining us right here on
the Cougar Chronicle.
How to get to Hadestown. You'll have to take the long way down. Through the underground, under cover of night. Laying low, staying out of sight. Ain't no compass, brother. Ain't no map. Just a telephone wire and a railroad track. Keep on walking and don't look back till you get to the bottom land.
Wait for me, I'm coming. Wait, I'm coming with you. Wait for me, I'm coming too, I'm coming too.
River Styx is high and wide, cinder bricks and razor wire, walls of iron and concrete. Hound dogs howling round the gate. Those dogs will lay down and play dead if you've got the bones, if you've got the bread. But if all you've got is your own two legs, just be glad you've got them.
Wait for me, I'm coming. Wait, I'm coming with you. Wait for me, I'm coming too, I'm coming too.
Who are you? Where do you think you're going? Who are you? Why are you all alone? Who do you think you are? Who are you?
Think that you can walk a road that no one ever walked before.
La 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 la.
You're on the run. Don't give your name, you don't have one. And don't look no one in the eye. That town will try to suck you dry. They'll suck your brains, they'll suck your breath, pluck the heart right out your chest. They'll truss you up in your Sunday best and stuff your mouth with cotton.
Wait for me, I'm coming. Wait, I'm coming with you. Wait for me, I'm coming too. I'm coming. Wait. I'm coming. Wait for me. Wait. I hear the walls repeating. The falling of my feet, and it sounds like coming. And I am not alone. I hear the rocks and stones echo in my song. I'm coming.
You're watching YCN, your local view. Program airtime is underwritten in part by Bar Harbor Bank and Trust. Looking to purchase your dream home, finance your business, or just find a better checking relationship? Our New Hampshire team is here to help you. We make award-winning banking happen every day. Contact us to see how we can help you. Member FDIC.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
We all know ticks suck blood, but not just in the woods. Ticks can be almost anywhere year-round. Even though some are smaller than the head of a pin, they're big trouble. Even a tiny tick can make you super sick. So wear protective clothing and an EPA-registered insect repellent. And when you shower, remember, check for ticks everywhere. If you get a tick, tell an adult and go to ticksuck.org to learn how to remove it properly. Ticks suck, but being outdoors shouldn't. Ticksuck.org